Welcome to the Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. Shout out to everybody who checked out Game 2 of the World Series. I hear it was very exciting. Anyway, on to this here NBA. Hey, sorry, if you're that baseball guy, we're going to talk about it in a little while, but we got to worry about, the overwhelming preponderance of the population. That being said, so last night, the Cavs lost to the Nets. Now, I don't really have much discussion to be had when it comes to the Cavs losing to the Nets, although LeBron put up a triple-double and the Cavs lost to the Nets. And the night before, I believe the Cavs were down at halftime to the Bulls. And I don't know the last time you looked at the box score from a Bulls game, my dude, but let me be real with you. That is not even a game of he's still in the league. That's a game of who dat. Like, it's straight up and down who dat when you look at the Bulls roster. Like, starters, backups. Like, I don't know who this person is. Shannon, you up on Zipzik? You know about him?
I heard he's going to miss a game, right? He did miss a game or supposed to miss a game?
He is? Zipser. Sorry, Zipser.
Exactly.
Is he from here?
Like, the fact that I didn't even know that wasn't his last name, that tells you all you need to know about my knowledge of the Bulls roster.
The Zipser. That's who he is, the Zipser. By the way, he from here? Let's see, Paul Zipser. Paul Zipser is from Germany. Paul threw me off. Like, once he got to be Paul, I thought it was possible that, we don't produce him like we used to. There's a Jay Holiday that starts with the Bulls, by the way, and then you click on it and you realize it's Justin, and it kind of goes away. True or false, Shannon? The best starter on the Bulls right now is Robin Lopez.
Wow.
It's Markkanen, Robin Lopez, Jerry Grant, Justin Holiday, and Zippy.
Those are three former Knicks right there.
Wow.
Like recent Knicks.
Yeah, and by the way, if that Zipser guy turns out to be any good, he's going to be Zippy right around the corner. In case you wonder why Bobby Portis still plays on the team, look at who else plays on the team. Anyway, the Bulls were down at the half to them. I mean, the Cavs outscored the Bulls by 8 points in the fourth quarter of that game. The Cavs won the game by 9. Like, just so you know, like that's where the Cavs are right now. They are not actually very good. At least it doesn't appear to be the case. And the Cavs, again, lost last night. They lost to the Nets. And you want to play box score bingo with that? Do you know anybody who plays for the Nets?
Jeremy Lin?
I was about to ask, was that who he was playing for when he got hurt? Because I wasn't exactly sure. They got a Sopich, right? They got a Vitch of some sort, don't they? I know they did a couple years ago. Wasn't it like the TV to Ledovich?
I believe that's what it was.
Did he play for them?
Maybe.
Right, and the Cavs lost to them. Now, I have heard everybody say that they find this season is going to be boring because everybody knows that it's going to be Warriors and Cavs. Everybody knows that it's going to be Warriors and Cavs. Do we have anything to pay attention to if everybody knows that it's going to be Warriors and Cavs? And I have come to ask you guys a question that I feel like you haven't given much thought to. Would you prefer something else? Because it looks entirely possible that the team that comes out of the East might not have LeBron James on it. And if the team that comes out of the East does not have LeBron on it, do you want to watch those finals? Because I don't feel like I want to watch those finals. Like, at least if these LeBron Cavs manage to get in there, we could watch LeBron. If we get the Bucks, as much as I enjoy watching Giannis play, remember that first time LeBron went to the finals? I mean, I remember that it happened, but I don't remember anything about it. I don't need to see, 22-year-old Giannis, however old he is. I really don't be paying attention to that. I just know he's very young. We don't need that. So, like, everybody that said that the worst thing about the NBA is this year, you know who's going to be in the finals. I am here to say that, no, we do not know who is going to be in the finals, at least not in the East. And if we want to keep it kind of funky, have the Warriors not exactly been world beaters to start the season? Now, maybe they're at that point where they ain't really tripping on this, but they played Toronto last night at home. It wasn't like they overwhelmed them. That got them to 3-2. I do think that we have a level of intrigue with the Rockets once Chris Paul is back and healthy as we try to figure out what it is that they are going to be. But everybody and their mama said that, hey, we don't care about what's going on in the NBA because we know the two teams that are going to make the finals. No. We don't know who the two teams are that are going to make the finals, and I have to be honest, it makes me a little bit nervous because I've already been looking forward to the two teams that I thought were going to be in the finals. Now, this is LeBron James, by the way, talking about the Cavs letting the Nets get ahead of them.
You can't have slow starts, no matter who you're playing. We have slow starts. It takes too much to get back into the game. And, a lot of our shots down the stretch were short because we used spending so much energy trying to get back into the game. So we got to do a better job of that.
You passed the night for the all-time record for games played for this franchise. What does that mean?
That's the greatest thing ever. What does it mean? I'm available to my team. I'm available to my teammates mostly every night, and anytime I'm linked with Big Z, a really good friend of mine, it's pretty cool.
Credit to LeBron, by the way, for coming up with something about a record that he obviously doesn't care about, even the littlest bit.
All right, he may or may not care about it, but do you think he knew about it?
It doesn't sound like it. It does not sound like it. Like, it doesn't sound like whatever the email that he gets in the morning briefing from Mav or whatever all the stuff is they got to do during the day, it doesn't sound like this was on the list of things to consider.
I was impressed, though, with LeBron and how he handled that question following a loss. Because usually, as we all know, LeBron doesn't take losing very well.
No, but he
not
did.
At all.
But he did laugh at the question. So, I mean, we are there. You know who the second leading scorer was last night for the Cavaliers? Kyle Korver. You know who third was? Jeff Green. Yeah. Like, this is what this is. This is not a very good roster. Like, I don't think I had really come to terms with what a not very good roster this is. Now, yes, they might get, what's his name? Isaiah Thomas is going to come back at some point. None of us know what it is that they're going to get out of him when it is that he comes back. And by the way, what an interesting situation he will be. A little bitty dude with a messed up hip gunning for his paper. Because he needs to hit the ground running. Hey, he needs to get out there and he needs to get his paper. So I'm thinking about this. So for the NBA, I think best case scenario is this for the NBA in the East. Your best case scenario is for the Bucks to come out on top, the number one seed in the East. Boston, unfortunately, we don't really need to have them in the discussion. They need the Bucks to be the number one seed in the East. They need the Bucks to get to the get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they need the Cavs to beat the Bucks in 7 games. Then I believe that we will have some measure of intrigue in this. But, boy, I don't feel good about the Cleveland Cavaliers.
I definitely think the NBA needs to identify the Bucks as that team, that up-and-coming team, the team that's going to take over the East whenever LeBron does leave Cleveland. Like, we need to identify that. So, to your point, I think it bodes well for the league that if Milwaukee does win the East, get to the Eastern Conference Finals, but we still get LeBron in the finals.
Well, also, lucky for the league, we came up with a nickname for Giannis, because the problem that you would have with the Bucks is, number one, they got one player that anybody really cares about, and number two, can't nobody spell his last name. He hard as hell to Google. Like, just if you try to, Google him on the strength of his name, he hard to Google. And by the way, Shannon, TV now plays for the Bucks. Telenovich, I had no idea. Looking at this roster, by the way, it looks like Telenovich and Delhi are hanging out with one another. I don't know who Thon Maker hang out with. But, that team is really fun. I just don't know how actually good they are. But they do look like one of those teams that can mess around and win, 53, 54 games and win a down year in a conference. Although with the East, I'm calling this a down year in the East. Is this a down year in the East, or is this just the East? East stay down. And I don't mean that in no good way. Oh, by the way, forgot about this. The Cavs have the Nets pick. I feel like the Cavs need to be playing harder in those games than any other games that they play, right? They need to make sure the Nets lose those. Make that pick better. LeBron, I ain't going to be here no way. I don't care. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Give us a call. Coming up next, it seems you boys are still calling in with those stories about the time you lost your mind because of a video game. Also, how about Lonzo Ball and the Lakers getting the win, even though Lonzo didn't play that well? You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Key and Fahey of presnapbreeze.com and ESPN will join us next segment. Key and Fahey will join us at 4:30 Eastern. Talk about some of the young quarterbacks. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. And hey, stop Straight Talk. Brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks. No contracts. talking a little bit about the NBA. We'll get to the Lonzo Ball game in a second. Yesterday, we had you boys calling in talking about the time you lost your mind playing a video game. Let's hit the phone. Talk to Edgar from Tempe. Edgar, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, huge fan. Hey, I didn't necessarily lose my mind, but it was a guy that I'd never met. Do you guys remember that game, Super Smash Brothers, on the GameCube?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, well, I never met this guy, and my friend wanted me to play him. So what I was doing, he just basically told me, just keep smacking him. And I was using a character which is equivalent to me slapping him. And I just kept doing that over and over and over again. And everybody in the room was laughing at this guy. He was getting so frustrated, and I had to do this to him probably like 10 times in a row. Everybody in the room is laughing. This guy just he straight up gets up and throws the wave bird across the room and hits my friend smashed in the forehead. Everybody laughing at him. All you can see is a red mark right on his forehead. And this guy just walks out the room. And we ask him, how come you didn't throw it at Edgar? And the guy's like, I don't know him, but I know him. He's the one who's been laughing at me the most. And he just walks out the room.
Yeah. Let me tell you, I appreciate the call, but Edgar, I think you need to find new friends because they were setting you up. Little did you know you was out there, what they call it, Shannon, cruising for a bruiser.
Oh, no, you can't do that, especially if you're going up against somebody that you don't know. Nah, you got to take it easy. You can't go out there and embarrass somebody you don't know.
Right. No, they were trying to set you up. They're like, no, why don't you go beat up Edgar? Like, I love to hear these other stories about that time they told Edgar, hey, Edgar, meet me down there in that alley at about 11:30. Come by yourself.
And have cash on you. Make sure you have cash.
Yeah.
They don't take credit. They don't take credit. Bring cash.
Who's they? They don't, okay? They just don't. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So after all the talk about John Wall torturing Lonzo Ball last night, I don't think Lonzo got tortured and the Lakers, in fact, won. I watched some of that game. The Lakers made a nice little comeback. That should make Magic feel a little bit better. Magic went from watching the Dodgers lose to get him in a Laker win, so I suppose that improved his evening just a little bit. Brandon Ingram made the bucket late to get that thing going. But so was LeVar right? LeVar's like, my boy ain't going to lose twice in a week. And let me tell you, at least with this particular Lakers team, your boy going to lose twice a week a few times. Like, it ain't really going to have nothing to do with him, but it is going to happen. That's just what it's going to be. This is what LeVar had to say to Jeff Goodman. He said, I told you so. I've seen this story before. Our guys were more locked in tonight. As Luke Walton said, our guys were more locked in tonight. And I believe that his guys were more locked in. Because the question I have to ask about this game is, did the Lakers win or did Los Angeles win? Because when there's a game like this where I look at a team and I'm like, wow, you sure are letting the other side play a little bit too close, and the other side is in L.A., you know what I like to check? I like to check when they got to town and if they had a game the night before. And we looked it up. This game was played on Wednesday night. The Wizards played the Nuggets on Monday night, which means that early morning Tuesday they got into Los Angeles. What you think that mean they were doing on Tuesday night? Like, doesn't John Wall live in L.A. in the offseason? What do you think John Wall was out there doing on Tuesday night? John Wall, who, by the way, shot 7 for 22. This happens in the NBA all the time because the NBA has a little bit of a different road life than these other sports because the NBA is the one that is more likely to give somebody time to just kick it around whatever the city happens to be. Wizards got in Monday going into Tuesday. They didn't have a game till Wednesday. Honestly, I don't even know why Scott Brooks came up with a game plan. Y'all was just probably going to lose. That's how it works.
And it was strange because they had the night off, the previous night off. I was surprised that the Wizards were so sluggish, especially in the second half. It's like they had no legs.
You were thinking about it the wrong way, right? Like, you're out here like, okay, they didn't have to play a game the night before. They probably would have been better rested if they had played a game the night before. Nah. L.A. does that to people all the time.
It was just strange. It looked like they had weak legs in the second half. I don't know what it was. The Lakers came back on them late in the fourth.
One of those not-so-great Laker teams. I went to Staples Center once to watch them play against the Thunder, Durant Westbrook Thunder. And the Lakers won that game. And I was in there. I'm like, oh, that's right. I would have looked at their schedule. Shannon, if I'm not mistaken, the Thunder had not one but 2 nights in Los Angeles. Yeah. And for the Wizards, this your one trip to L.A.? This your one chance to go? Oh, no, baby, we going to live this up. They absolutely go live it up. And that is absolutely what my guess would be on this. Here's my thing with Lonzo. I mean, how much of a jumper is he going to need to have? Right? Because he's not exceedingly quick, and he doesn't have a J. So how long is this going to take? Because in his game, and look, I think he's a better player, don't get me wrong, but I saw in his game in college a lot of Kendall Marshall. His college game and Kendall Marshall's college game are very, very similar. And, by the way, as much as we talk about, like, Lonzo and bringing the team together, I have never in my life seen a player change a team just by going into the starting lineup like what happened when Kendall Marshall took over for Larry Drew in North Carolina. Like, there are lots of similarities between the two. Kendall Marshall was out of the league in, like, 35, 45 minutes. Right? Like, he got in just fast enough to pick up a bunch of gear, and then he was out. So how exactly is this going to go with Lonzo? Because everybody seems to be really excited about him and everything else, but there seem to be some fairly intractable things about his game. I mean, how much quicker is he going to be able to get? Like, I'm sure they could get him in doing some lateral quickness stuff or whatever it is, but, like, how much quicker is he going to get? How much better is his jump shot going to be able to get? And if you're shooting 2 for 11 from the field, how far can, like, 10 assists and 8 rebounds go? And I'm not asking any of these questions like is any judgment of Lonzo, nor am I asking any of these questions in such a way to be like, you know, he's not going to be any good. I'm not saying that. I just have some questions because he is 6'6", right? And everybody does seem to rave about him in a way that you rarely see. But there does seem to be a bit of a ceiling on where this can go.
It'll be interesting to watch how teams defend him as the season goes on. Because right now, I'd imagine a lot of point guards are out there trying to go at him, so they probably dean him up on really close. Why not take a few steps back and give him the jump shot?
Oh, they will. That's one thing about the NBA. Once people realize you can't shoot, not only are they going to give you the jumper, they're going to give you the jumper, but they're going to make you think about the fact that they give you the jumper. All right, man, get to rebound. Like, who's that Chris Paul did that to during the preseason? Was that Andre Robertson? Where he just waved his hand at him and turned his back? How disrespectful is that?
You called him who? What'd you call him?
Andre Robertson.
Doesn't he go by something else?
Self-check.
Mm-hmm.
Self-check. That would be self-check. Because think about that, man. I mean, I don't know if you've ever been the guy to pick, like, in a game that they give the jumper to. I've been the guy that they give the jumper to, and that does nothing to help you make the jumper. Because as you are trying to convince yourself that you got to keep them honest, you know the whole way, I know why they're giving me this shot. It's the whole reason I shouldn't take this shot. But it's the reason why I got to take this shot. You realize how much you got is like how much weaving around the stuff that there is to consider at one time under those circumstances. Also, Shannon, have you ever heard of Tim Frazier?
What team does he play for?
He plays for the Wizards, and he had a team high plus 11 in the 12 minutes that Tim Frazier was in the game. The Wizards were up by 11 points.
You know what's crazy about that? I watched the game last night.
Tim Frazier, he's a little point guard, number 8. Apparently, he's from Houston. Somehow wound up at Penn State. When did they get a basketball team? Straight Talk Wireless, nationwide coverage on America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott. We're trying to figure out which of them is maybe the best this year or has been best this year. We're talking to Kean Fahey on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out at presnapreads.com. Also, the Nickel Package Podcast on Tuesdays. His name is Kean Fahey. All right, Kean, now you and I have both been a little slow to get onto the Carson Wentz wagon, but he has, 17 touchdowns and 4 interceptions so far this year. What have you thought about his play overall and his play last week?
Well, on Monday night it was, yeah. On Monday night, that was the best game of his career by a long distance. And if Carson Wentz played not just that game, but if he played just close to that for the course of his career, I'd have probably been quite a fan of him. But that just hasn't been the case with him. His consistency with his decision making, his consistency with his ball placement hasn't been there. See, if we, as someone who doesn't really use the numbers to judge quarterbacks, I'm always fascinated by looking at the perception of quarterbacks and how it's crafted. And right now, Wentz has good numbers. He has. He's on a winning team, obviously a team with the most wins in the league. and he's had his best games on national TV. And I feel like that's a big factor in this, because if we go back to that Washington game at the start of the year, the inverse of Monday night's fixture, you have probably one of the worst games of his career, probably the second worst, where he was throwing the ball to defenders all day, and he was 1 of 6 deep passes. So I'm still not sold completely on Carson Wentz. I need a greater sample than the last month or whatever it is that we have, because his rookie year was really bad. The first month of the season was kind of bad, and the last month has been good. But there's obviously potential there. He's set up really well in a really interesting offense. Actually, one of the things that's fascinating to me with that offense, it kind of reminds me a little bit like RG3's during that rookie year that he had, because there's a lot of hard play fakes from shotgun. Well, RG3 was under center a lot more, but Wentz uses a lot of hard play fakes from shotgun to attack the middle of the field, so he's got a quick decision to get the ball out, and he's also using a lot of read pass options as well that set up deep shots. So it's a kind of a fascinating offense. I think the Eagles as a whole are a really good team, but I'm still a little bit skeptical of Wentz.
Well, how high do you see the ceiling being there? Because I admit I get caught up in the eye test with him, because he sure does look like he's got the amorphous it.
Well, it's always I generally don't know how to judge a ceiling with players. Like, I don't think he has a hugely strong arm. I know we saw that 60-yard throw and it was an accurate throw, but his passes tend to flutter a bit through the air. He's not really a guy who generates high velocity and hits tight windows. So he's more of an anticipation passer. I think the big issue with him and his ceiling, though, was more the actually, sorry, I should just mention before I go off the deep ball. Even though he's been really good in the deep ball the last couple of weeks, he's still below average for the season. He's still at around 35% accuracy from my charting for the year. But the other part of his ceiling is his footwork. When he came into the league, he used to drop back in the pocket, plant his feet, never move them, and it made it difficult for his offensive line. It made it difficult for him to get off his first read, and it made it difficult for him to play against pressure. That's where you've seen that little bit of growth, and that's where his more creative plays are coming from, because he's able to move his feet that little bit more. If he keeps doing that, and if he keeps getting a little bit better and a little bit more consistent, he could be a good quarterback, but I'm still just that little bit skeptical of it.
All right, we're talking to Kean Fahey of PreSnapReads.com here on The Right Time. Now, what have you thought about Dak Prescott so far this year?
Well, you and I have had kind of a similar opinion on Dak as well, where last year he was kind of getting overhyped a little bit, and Tony Romo was like the better quarterback. We all kind of had that idea that he wasn't as good as Romo, but the team was functioning. I feel like this year he's actually taken a real step forward, and I don't know if you know him, he's a former special teams NFL player, but Dominique Foxworth, who writes for ESPN, actually got something right last week, where they were asked to list the top 3 quarterbacks in the league, and Dominique he was the only one, as far as I could tell, had Brady, Breeze, and Dak. And I actually agree with him. I think Dak is probably, like, of the healthy quarterbacks right now, he's probably the second best quarterback. He's got a huge command of that offense. He has an ability to make adjustments consistently. He's playing really well against pressure. He understands when to get the ball out. He understands when to hold it. He's got that running option in the red zone. But the big difference this year compared to last year for me is he's attacking tight windows. You saw that Jason Witten touched on last Sunday, where Witten has a great one-handed catch, but it's also a really aggressive play from Dak, and it's a perfectly thrown ball because it puts the ball in a spot where only Witten can catch it while the defender is draping him.
I'm a little surprised you had Brady so high there, because I've seen that the results have been there, but I guess I haven't found myself that impressed by his actual play this year.
Well, look, actually, that's less about Brady. Look around. Who are you going to point to besides him? Like, with Aaron Rodgers down, Brady is kind of up there. Right now, we've got Matt Ryan looking like he did last year, but he doesn't have Kyle Shanahan showing him off anymore. Cam Newton has struggled a lot. Andrew Luck is hurt. Russell Wilson has underrated story of this year, actually, as Russell Wilson has been struggling quite a bit. So it's kind of more that the quality of quarterback play right now is dipping a little bit, and I think Brady offers you that consistency. He offers you that you know what you're going to get each week in and out.
All right, we're talking to Kean Fahey of the Nickel Package Podcast here on The Right Time. Now, what have you thought about the Bears' defense? As they've won some games here with bad quarterbacking, I think that would have surprised most of us coming into the year.
Over the past 3 weeks, the Bears' defense, the defense specifically now, not the whole team, the Bears' defense has given up 2 touchdowns, scored 3 touchdowns, and got a safety. So that's a pretty good record for 3 weeks, and it's not a fluke thing. Obviously, at the weekend, Curtis Samuel fumbled the ball on an option play. The defense has very little to do with that. They picked it up and ran it back, Eddie Jackson did. But they're also creating a huge amount of pressure. Akeem Hicks might be the most underrated defensive player in the league. He's a defensive tackle, but he rushes like an edge defender. He's so violent, so explosive. He creates interior penetration all the time. him and Leonard Floyd coming off one side, Pernell McPhee coming off the other, they just destroy pockets, and they're consistently getting at quarterbacks. If they don't sack the quarterback, they're making it extremely difficult for the quarterback. They're forcing him to adjust, and it's covering the secondary. It means they don't have to blitz, and it means the linebackers don't have to be as good in coverage, don't have as difficult assignments. So everything is coming from having that diverse front of different pass rushers who can win individually one-on-one. And the ceiling for them, if Trubisky can actually play well and if he can be in that very limited role with Jordan Howard carrying the offense, they could be a really good team. It's probably not going to be this year, but maybe next year.
Now, what are you seeing from Trubisky so far?
Very little. He's thrown the ball about 10 times the past 2 weeks. It honestly is at this stage. It's just way too early because he does make a couple of phenomenal throws. He's got an unbelievable ability to put the ball in the spot in tight windows, and he's got that great arm strength. But we knew he had that. That's what it was. That's the selling point of what he was coming out. He's going to have to figure out coverages. He's going to have to figure out timing. So far, he's probably been better than we'd expect, but that's also the benefit of being on a team where you've got two defensive touchdowns and you only have to throw the ball 10 times.
All right, Dr. Keelan Fahey, PreSnapReads.com here on the right time. Now, the Rams have looked a lot better this year than at least than last year. I don't know so much about expectations, but what's been the biggest difference you've seen from Todd Gurley between this year and last?
We should actually mention on the Rams, just because we mentioned it with Carson Wentz, Jared Goff has a very similar situation there. He's had his best game of the season on prime time against the 49ers, and besides that, he has not been very good as far as I'm concerned. But for Gurley, the fascinating thing for me with Gurley is last year everyone killed him and saying, he's averaging 2 yards per rush or whatever it was. But it was never about Todd Gurley. It was about the offense, the design of the offense. Jeff Fisher used to run an offense where it was based on misdirection plays, but he used the same 3 or 4 misdirection plays all the time. So misdirection isn't very good if you kind of know it's coming and if you can anticipate it. And he would end up running into these piles, and his blockers couldn't actually execute their blocks. So Gurley would make one defender miss, or he would press a hole and create some yardage, but it wouldn't be there because everyone would close in around him. If you go back to his touchdown against the Cardinals last week, it showed off the complete difference in the offense this year. They run a zone play to the right, so that means they leave the backside defender unblocked intentionally. The backside defender is really aggressive, makes a really good read, and closes down on Gurley. And Gurley sees it, so he sidestepped that defender, and he has that moment then where he needs to figure out where he's going to go. And last year he wouldn't have got that moment. Last year he would have been hit by a second or third defender by the time he made the first defender miss. And just having Andrew Whitworth there, having a better designed plays, it makes it difficult for the defenders to anticipate and close around him as easily. And on that play he accelerated around the edge, ran in for a touchdown, and made it look fairly easy.
All right, now Keelan Fahey is brought to you by Upside. Now save big on travel and get a big gift card every trip you buy. You'll love Upside.com, Upside.com. All right, Keelan, now it's time for your Upside matchup. A.J. Green and Joe Mixon versus the Colts defense. What are you seeing there?
I'm probably cheating because any defense or anyone against the Colts defense is pretty much a good matchup these days. But AJ Green had a weird game a couple of weeks ago where he caused 2 interceptions and had a fumble, and he still had 190 yards, and it was probably the worst game of his career, and he still put up 190 yards. So Vontae Davis isn't going to be able to cover him. They're not going to get a good pass rush because they haven't all year. So even Andy Dalton should be able to find Green, and Mixon didn't get many carries in the second half last week, and it was a bit of an issue. He was on the field, but he wasn't getting the ball. But when he has got the ball, he's been really elusive. He's been really good, and obviously he was a controversial figure when he came out, so they need him to be that kind of good and be that kind of impact player over the coming weeks.
All right, that is Keelan Fahey. Check him out, PreSnapReads.com. Also, the Nickel Package podcast on ESPN on Tuesdays and every Wednesday here on The Right Time. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
All right, now ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance, creators of the Name Your Price tool. Choose from a range of coverage options to pick the price that works for you. Traveling for business is a game of wins and losses. Having a short wait to get through security, that's a win. Forgetting about the bottle of water in your briefcase so you have to go through the security line again, that's a loss. Buying your business trip at Upside.com, it's not just a win, it's a triple win. You've heard me talk about 2 of their wins, the great prices Upside delivers, as well as the gift card every time you buy a business trip. But number 3 is the big win, the 6-star treatment you'll get from Upside's customer service specialists. They call them navigators. One recent Upside customer had a flight canceled, and while rebooking, a navigator contacted the hotel and had them change his check-in day without charging any fees. That's just one example of how Upside navigators go above and beyond for business travelers. Imagine what they'll do for you. Go to Upside.com and use code Bomani. You'll get a $100 minimum gift card to Amazon.com. That's code Bomani for a minimum $100 gift card when you buy your next business trip. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Kean Fahey at PreSnapReads.com for joining us last segment. Tom Haberstroh, Bleacher Report, will join us in the 5 o'clock Eastern hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. You boys been calling in talking about that time somebody lost their mind over a video game, kind of like the dude from North Carolina who punched a hole in the wall and broke his hand. It was through a door. Either way it goes, it broke his hand, and y'all can relate. Let's hit the phones and talk to Josh in Georgia. Josh, thanks for calling the Right Time.
Look, it was so bad. I threw my Xbox out the window and hit my mom's Escalade. Let me tell you the story.
Well, wait. Hold on, because you were kind of muffled in the phone there. You said that you threw the Xbox out the window and hit your mom's Escalade.
Yeah, but the story's even better. So
hey, pull the phone away from your mouth, though, bro. We can barely hear you.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
Good. So I'm playing Madden 04, right? This is what big. The offense was crispy, but this before they fixed the defensive pursuit angles, right? But anyway, I'm cutting this dude up. I got the Colts. I got Peyton Manning.
Yeah, we were having a little trouble with the phone, so we'll get back to him in a second. 888-729-3776. Talk to Layla in Richmond. Thanks for calling the Right Time.
Peace, Bo. It's Liddell.
Liddell, my bad, man.
It's all good. I'm roughly your age, and this is back in high school. We have a half day, so we round up the troops, and we go to my man's house. It's like 10 or 12 of us cramped in his little room, and we're playing. It was a non-Madden game, so one of the sleeper football games, and I believe it was like a 32X or Jaguar video game. And so we have like 6 to 8 controllers hooked up, multiplayer game going against each other, and I break for this super long run and score a touchdown. We get super foul, super explicit. We're cussing each other out, going absolutely crazy. And, of course, I'm in the fold with everyone else. And then suddenly everyone gets silent in unison. But I keep going, and I'm cussing everybody out, talking all crazy. Man, I looked up and turned behind me over my shoulder, and my man's mom had came home and walked in the house.
No.
I mean, I died. Luckily, it was kind of a household where they probably cursed towards each other on the regular, so I didn't trip too much. He didn't say anything.
I understand what you're saying now about the household, Adele. I appreciate the call. I should have known that when he said y'all had a Jaguar. I forgot the Jaguar had even existed. The Jaguar wasn't in every neighborhood. Was it Atari made the Jaguar?
It was Atari Jaguar, and they advertised themselves as having 64 bits graphic, but really it was just 232s. But so it wasn't really 64.
How was it 232s?
The way they set it up, they had 2 different chips in the system. So one chip did one thing, another chip did another. So it was 232s, like a Sega Saturn. Yeah. So it wasn't actually 64. They didn't make the jump from 16 to 64. They made the jump from 16 to 32, and they didn't have the licensing rights like the other game systems had.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be some nonsense when you said the way they set it up. That's a sign of shenanigans are there. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So Joe Girardi, after 10 years, it will be leaving as the manager of the New York Yankees. Joe Girardi has this really interesting talent for getting teams to let him go after they've been reasonably successful. Same thing happened with him when he was the manager of the Marlins, though in that situation he had broke bad with the owner in front of the world, and that's the kind of thing that does wind up getting people fired. Now he's done 10 years in New York, and Joe Girardi did 10 years in New York. That's really hard to do. And you know what's hard to do? 10 relatively uneventful years. At least relatively uneventful as they, surrounded Joe Girardi. Now, yes, there was a World Series there, but that was the only World Series that Joe Girardi went to while he was the manager of the team. There was also the Alex Rodriguez chaotic era, which I suppose was its own thing, but I feel like Girardi kind of navigated that and dealt with it about as well as anybody could. But, if you were to ask me, what really stands out about Joe Girardi, I don't really have much to say, and that's like a victory if you're the manager of the Yankees, right? Now, maybe some of that's got to do with the fact that it's a different Steinbrenner in charge, therefore it's not that much of an up-and-down sort of scenario that you're in. But, hey, man, best of luck to you. 10 years, you got 16 mil out the last 4 years. Way to go, buddy. 888-729-3776. Talk to Elena in Indiana. Elena, thanks for calling the Right Time.
Awesome. I just have a really quick story. I love your show. I listen to it every day on my way home from work.
Thank you.
My boyfriend and his friends love to play video games, and it was several years ago. He was having a really bad day at work, so we decided to call it a day. So we went home. He was just going to go the next day. And he was playing Gears of War. He got so upset that he threw his remote into the floor, and it bounced up and broke his TV.
Ooh.
And I just think that made his day even worse, but it gave him an excuse to buy a new TV. But it is just my favorite story of him losing his mind over video games.
Shannon, you know anything about something like that happening?
We talking about this guy right now. We focus on this guy.
Hey, later, I appreciate the call, 888-729-3776. Yeah, I knew where that was going. I wonder if he listened to the show every day on the way home from work. Does he know? Like, does he realize that he has been immortalized here on the right time? You call up and be like, I'm a latest man. I'd be like, hey, partner, you need to learn to control your temper. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, Colin Kaepernick's going to meet with the owners. Oh, I got jokes.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Welcome to The Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. That is at Bomani_Jones. So, Charles Robinson, we got a couple stories here. You know, the NBA, the NFL, and, you know, its players are trying to figure out how to keep the peace. You know, they've been having this thing, you know, with national anthems and protests and the likes. And, you know, we've come to find that a lot of the fans really get upset when they see players not doing for the national anthem as they want. And everybody just wants unity. That is what they want. Of course, the problem is, in many cases, people's portrait of unity, Shannon, is basically Rick James's portrait of unity, which is punch you in the face with a unity ring and leaving a mark on your face that does, in fact, say unity, which is not the same thing as unity. It just looks like unity, right? I see where you would get there. So, anyway, Russell Okung, he plays tackle for the Chargers. He was involved in the meetings, and he's not feeling that the meetings are worth the time. He told this to Adam Schefter. He said, and I quote, I am disappointed that further progress has not been reached on discussions with the league. NFL officials appear unmotivated and don't share the same sense of urgency. Increasingly, the meetings appear unproductive at best and disingenuous at worst. Furthermore, the ongoing disparagement of Colin Kaepernick is a factor needing remedy for the players and public to feel heard and for real progress to be made, right? Now, I talked to one guy who had gone to at least the first meeting, and he said that he thought it was okay. He thought it was kind of worth the time. But no, Okung is not really here for it. He believes that nothing is really going the way that he wants it to. And then let's take it to another level here. Charles Robinson of Yahoo Sports is saying that Colin Kaepernick will be involved in the next meeting. I got that right, Shannon? That is what Charles Robinson says.
That's the plan right now.
The two sources have told him he's agreed to go to the meeting with the players and the owners, and they'll keep talking about the league's level of social engagement. And I would like to make this point right now for both the players and the owners as they consider what it is that they're doing, okay? Like, this is free consultation that I'm offering you. This is the sort of thing people charge like thousands and thousands of dollars an hour for. I'm going to give this to them for the low, low price of free $99. That's right. When it comes to this matter of having these meetings about what to do about social justice and the national anthem protest, to the NFL and the players both, I say the same thing. It is better that you guys have one meeting too few than it is for you to have one meeting too many. What do I mean by that? I mean that if ultimately these meetings stop and there's nothing that ultimately gets done, yes, people will feel like their time was wasted, but in the end, we waste our time in lots of different ways. That's not such a bad thing. However, if this goes on for one meeting too many, you could wind up having some disastrous consequences. Because let's say that Russell Okung is correct in what he's saying and that the owners are demonstrating no urgency toward doing anything, right? What that means is that the owners have had these meetings simply to save face. I think that would be the most logical conclusion to draw from why they're having these meetings in the first place. It would be just for them to save face and to say that they did it and to show, you know, we're on the same team and just give that sort of effort. Okay, but if they are doing that and then there's no urgency behind what happens in the meetings, then what that does is it tells you that the owners don't really have very much of an investment in the cause that is being discussed. They are there because they, as the owners, well, they really don't have much leverage over the players and the protests because there are no rules in place to stop the players from protesting the national anthem, right? None whatsoever. I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's the reason why the owners are there. Okay. Problem that you got there is if you go one meeting too long, some owner who never wanted to be there in the first place and maybe was just having a bad day in that morning is going to mess around and say the wrong thing, and then next thing you know, this whole bad boy going to get set off, right? Like, next thing you know, they just sitting there in the meetings, and finally one owner is like, look, I got somewhere to be. What is it that you people want? And then it's over, man. Right? Then the whole thing falls all apart right there. Right? That whole thing just ends at that very moment. There it goes right there. Or finally, some dude winds up getting mad. He gets on a roll, and he ends it with, and while we're on it, hands up, don't shoot. He ain't even have his hands up. But I got to come here for some meeting. I don't even know who half these dudes are. Then the wheels just come off the whole thing. Right.
Like, I wonder with these meetings with the owners, like, is the invitation open for every owner? Or do they vet which owners?
Oh, no. There seemed to pretty clearly be a level of vetting, right? Like Stephen Ross, he's got that RISE program. We out here trying to save the world. He's going. Shad Khan, who's been in the newspaper talking bad about Trump, he got to go. But also on the other side, you had like Bob McNair, who I feel like is there just to make sure don't nobody give up the farm. You know, like Bob McNair's to make sure, go ahead and make sure that these softies don't do anything stupid. Right? Like I definitely, they didn't just let any owner decide that he wanted to show up. I don't think that was really like necessarily the game plan. But all it takes is for one of them to have had enough. Like, I don't have to listen to y'all. I'm doing this just to be nice. Then the whole thing goes out of whack. And that's before we talk about Kaepernick showing up. Because I imagine that these cats who actually have jobs are approaching this with a certain level of diplomacy. Kaepernick is suing these dudes. Have you read the paperwork on that lawsuit? Kaepernick gonna come in there underdressed, right? Like, I know a lot of cats that kick it like Kaepernick does, on the sort of things that he's talking about, Shannon. They'll never come dressed. Like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. That's about it. Otherwise, man, it's a black leather and a T-shirt. Who knows who's gonna be on the T-shirt? Gonna be there, that Angela Davis T-shirt sitting there. Like, that's what it's gonna be. And they're going to keep on going, and then it's going to be a brief moment where Kaepernick stops and says, excuse me, I appreciate you guys. He doesn't raise his voice, right? I appreciate you guys inviting me here, but, I mean, when I hear you guys talk, if I may be honest, I hear a slave master's mentality. And then the whole thing is going to blow up, right? The whole thing is going to explode right there at that moment. Then cats going to be in there talking bad to each other. Shannon, we might get the owners talking bad to each other, right? One of the owners like, why are we here? And Stephen Ross is like, guys, we want to try to make some level of progress. Man, bump you and your progress.
Like, I have to assume that the owners will meet together before going in this meeting, right? Like, hey, guys, this is the message that we want to get across here.
I mean, I'm sure they do. I also would like some footage. Like, you remember in The Godfather when they met to talk about selling the dope, and you had all the different shots of the different mob bosses, and like you got your man combing his hair and stuff like that. I feel like they should do an introduction like that in these meetings. And then out of nowhere, in the middle of the meeting, you hear, and Jerry Jones just showed up. I'm here representing the owners who could not be in the room. Everything can go bad, man. Everything can go bad.
See, that's what's so interesting about this is that these are billionaires. There's no back down to these billionaires.
No.
You don't become a billionaire by backing down.
No.
There's no level of deference that you're going to show.
No, I'm just telling you, before they get to the level of let's invite Colin, I think everybody needs to make sure that they got some kind of peace and understanding before they go into this room and they blow the whole thing up. Or they need to invite somebody. Michael Bennett is in these meetings too, right? They need to invite, like, who's the Kevin Garnett? Do you remember this, that during the lockout, one of those owners had leaked out that they had some meeting and Kevin Garnett showed up, and they said that Kevin Garnett tried to intimidate them because it sounds like Kevin Garnett showed up being Kevin Garnett, and he's just up there in cats' faces, breathing hard, saying MF all the time. We need to send one of those. Like, I have no idea if that's actually what Kevin Garnett did, because the problem is a bunch of owners, man, ain't no telling it don't take much to scare them, right? But, like, how about this? I want to get James Harrison on that committee. I bet they found some peace. Everybody say it with me. Everybody say it with me. Black Lives Matter. Hey there, Bidwill. I see you over there. Say Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, James. Everything that happens in this room is confidential, right? Okay, Black Lives Matter.
James coming to meet and playing R&B on his iPod.
Dude, James coming in wearing a Superstar Billy Graham weight belt. Right? Like, he just came straight out of working out at the hotel. James went into the hotel gym and was like, I need y'all got some more plates in the back. I can't do my workout with this mere 400 pounds worth of plates that you guys have here right now. Just saying, everybody thinking out, ask yourself the question, will another meeting actually be productive? Because if the next meeting won't be productive, it could be destructive. And then how bad would it then look for Kaepernick if the meeting he shows up to is the one that winds up being destructive? Shannon, they can't call me a racist for that segment, can they? I just thought we just had a lot of good old-fashioned fun. Somebody going to call me that?
We'll see.
888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, if you need to calm down from all that talk about race, we'll be talking about weed. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Tom Haberstroh of Bleacher Report will join us next segment. Tom Haberstroh will join us at 5:30 Eastern. Talk about how bad the Cavs might need Isaiah Thomas. Nothing makes up for a football obsession like bouquets from 1-800-Flowers.com. When you order a dozen red or assorted roses for only $29.99, you'll get another dozen plus a vase absolutely free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Letting you guys call in with your stories about freaking out over video games. Got to say, today's calls haven't been as good as yesterday's. I got to step it up, or we're going to have to dead this. Let's hit the phone and talk to JR in Pennsylvania. JR, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Hey, Bomani, it's JR. I just want to say thanks for taking my call. I was a college sophomore, right? Had my own apartment. I'm balling, right? Had this plasma TV, 48 inches, sitting there pretty. Hook up the Xbox 360, have a 10-year dynasty with Ohio State, right? We're out here balling. NCAA football, greatest game ever invented. I get 10 years in, got 1 minute left, so a pick six to lose a game in the national championship to Nebraska after winning 9 straight national titles. I was so mad Ohio State lost, bro. Next time I know, I look up, I take my Gatorade bottle. You remember when you used to fling the little caps?
Yeah.
Well, I flung the little cap. I thought that cap would sail right over the TV. No, homie. That John hit the corner of the screen, cracked the plasma wide open, out of the TV for the rest of the semester.
Wow. Yo.
Wasn't as bad as I thought, Bomani.
Yo, there's so many levels to this story, and I appreciate the call. Number one, the shock. I guess this was an old version for Nebraska to still be a national championship contender. There's that. Number two, you couldn't get to reset fast enough? You couldn't press pause before you crossed the goal line and, thought about, like, what to do?
Right. See, that's the thing. It's one thing if you're playing against somebody. If you're playing against the computer, hey, you home team.
But that was the next level of it. Very rarely do people get that mad at the computer. You get mad playing against other people. The computer, we just going to start this thing over. Get it back. You ain't going to tell me you had no damn 9-year winning streak without pressing reset, homie. You ain't fooling me. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. So I was at the crib today, and I just saw some tweets coming down the timeline. I didn't even know what the context was. I didn't even need to know what the context was. But here it is from First Take, Stephen A. Smith talking about weed.
I think it's abhorrent. I think it's ridiculous, and I don't support it at all in terms of the NBA legalizing it. If states want to legalize it, so be it. They want to tax it, so be it. But I don't believe that a paying customer should take money out of their hard-earned money out of their pockets to patronize an NBA product, to walk to a game and see some dudes walking up courtside. I don't believe that. And I can say that because I have seen instances where it has occurred. I'm not going to mention any names, but I've seen it up close and personal, where a dude goes in and you got a coach sitting there calling a play and the player's like, rocking back and forth. Hell no. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see it. I don't want it endorsed. I don't want it okayed.
First of all, stop snitching. Let's start with stop snitching. Shannon, the passion is so genuine when Stephen A. Smith talks about people smoking weed.
The disgust in his voice.
He's like, I've seen it. The dude sitting on the bench talking about what is it? Now, that reminds me. Should I ever tell you about the time I coached a rec league basketball team in Chapel Hill?
Huh?
All right, so I coached a rec league basketball team in Chapel Hill, right? I was in graduate school. The kids were in high school. My buddy was like, hey, I'm coaching this team. You want to come help me out? I'm all right, no big deal. All right. The team was called the Dutch Masters. They wore yellow and black shirts, and they were called the Dutch Masters. They were breaking huddles, and they were saying, 1, 2, 3, pass that Dutch. And we told them, yo. Y'all got to chill out on that, right? And so they then went to Waffle House because they were wearing yellow and black. And so the Dutch Masters were a fascinating collection of characters. In fact, Peter Green, my man who does the beat for the intro on this song, he was one of the Dutch Masters, right? Peter Green also, by the way, is a white dude with dreadlocks down to his behind who wears Lion of Judah wristbands and all of this, just to let you know how the Dutch Masters were getting down in part. So anyway, one day we come to coach the Dutch Masters, and the lady that's running the league comes and tells me and my buddy, he's like, hey, your whole team showed up high, especially number 32. We're like, what? We get in the huddle, man. It's just coming awful, man. It's like fumigating the joint with what appeared to be marijuana smoke from what I've been told, right? It was so high. Pete shows up late. Pete showed up in like the third quarter. It was like watching from the crowd. The kid that he's talking with, the kid they told us was super high, Shannon, he was just like the Stephen A. one. Huh? What? Like rocking side to side, rocking back and forth. And so we had to tell him after the game, because we're like, look, it's a team full of white kids, right? We had to explain to them after the game. We're like, look, man, y'all can't be showing up here high, but the reason y'all can't be showing up here high is they going to blame us, right? They're not going to blame y'all. They're not going to blame your parents. They're going to blame us. And I know they're going to blame us because we're telling you this in the huddle. Your dad is standing right over there, and he's not even tripping, right? Like, they go blame us. But the dad over there not tripping speaks to a point that I think needs to be made about these dudes showing up to NBA games high. Now, first of all, I don't understand showing up to play a game of NBA basketball high because I feel like that's a great way to get hit in the head with a no-look pass. Right? Like, from what I know about smoking weed, and I said this on the Twitter, and these cats started talking to me in, like, fancy weed language, and they were talking about CBD and low THC or whatever it is. I'm like, dog, these cats is out here buying weed. Right? They are going to the weed man. You know what the weed man sells? Weed. They ain't got labels everywhere.
I know I'm a bit naive when it comes to this stuff, but it seems like the folks on Twitter, do we have weed snobs now?
I mean, apparently so, but, I mean, there's the thing, though. They're like, yeah, well, I knew a cat I went to high school with who I'm like, what? Like, I just, like, from what I understand about the product, I simply don't understand how that's the greatest idea. But what cats were saying is some coaches were telling them, like, look, man, once they figured out they had a player who smoked weed before the game, they're going to be like, hey, man, you got to stop smoking weed before the game. And then if that dude doesn't play well in the game where he does not smoke weed, they then go tell him not to go smoke weed again. They'll be like, do what you need to do to get yourself ready to play. That's what they wind up doing. It's like when Stephen A's talking about these cats and the hard-earned, like the public shouldn't pay their money for this guy to be high at the game. The coach is like, I don't make enough money for this guy to be playing if he's not high. Like, this is the piece that we found. Like, if you're showing up to your job smelling like weed and they keep letting you show up to your job smelling like weed, your boss has decided that this is just something that they are willing to endure, right? Like, this is just one of those things. Do what you got to do to get ready to go to work. That's what it is. I feel like Stephen A. is missing that these coaches. Listen to this. Stephen Jackson did Michael Rappaport's podcast. What was it, January? He did that in January, and he talked about how Don Nelson knew what the deal was. He also talked about himself and how some days he said he'd be out there playing great, and then some days he'd be like, I need to come out of the game to calm down. And you know why, Shannon? Because he doesn't know what he's smoking. He's just smoking weed. Anyway, here he is talking about Don Nelson, talking to him and Baron Davis.
Nobody knows this story, so it's the first time somebody's hearing this story.
Give it to me.
We're in Utah, and the drug test people are around, to get our last drug test so we can smoke, right? And Don Nelson, we talked about weed all the time. He was cool with talking about weed. We got our last test in Utah, right? So me and Baron coming out the locker room just screaming, excited, right? With our last pink slip to saying that we could smoke for the rest of the season. Uh-huh. And Don Nelson hauls down there giving us high fives like, yeah, we can smoke now. It was cool. It was cool. The fact that he knows what's going on off the court with his players, which was great, man. We enjoyed it. And that's why we were a great team.
See, I don't think that Don Nelson was so much cool with them getting high as much as Don Nelson was not cool with what it was like when they weren't getting high. They're like, yo, man, y'all need to chill out. Like, whatever, like, do what you got to do to get yourself ready to play. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Coming up next, can Isaiah Thomas save the Cavs? We'll talk to Tom Haberstroh about that on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80. If you've got goals, GNC's got the protein for you. GNC AMP Whey Bolic is clinically proven to increase muscle size and strength in just 8 weeks. Total Lean is the most comprehensive line of weight management protein. GNC has the best from popular brands like Optimum and Muscle Tech and in-store exclusives from Ghost and Perform Mix. Try all the awesome, great-tasting flavors like cereal milk, Tahitian vanilla, fruity charms, and fudge brownie. Save big with GNC's Beat 'em by a Buck price match guarantee. Find the right protein formula for your goal at GNC.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us from the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, just like our next guest. Check him out covering the NBA at Bleacher Report, also at The Leverage. His name is Tom Haberstroh. Tom, is LeBron all alone again like the old days?
I'm going to correct you there. It's Leverage the Chat, Bomani. Come on. Just got to finish that name, man.
My bad. I'm just looking at what's on the screen, baby.
Leverage the Chat, yeah. LeBron James feeling very alone. Look, the Cavs are going without Isaiah Thomas. We knew that already, but he's going basically alone. If you look statistically, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the second best player so far this season after LeBron is Jeff Green. Veteran minimum player, Jeff Green, that basically anybody could have had this year. Has been the second best player. And I know everyone's going to say, hey, it's only been 4 or 5 games, but this is the team. Like right now, this is the team. Dwayne Wade in and out of the lineup with a knee issue. Derrick Rose with an ankle issue. Both of them can't shoot and space the floor. And you have a Cavs team that is not built to LeBron's talents. He is so good that he's going to give you a chance to win every single night. But it is scary how kind of thin this team is. You got Kevin Love. He's going to shoot better. But J.R. Smith, 3 of 25 out there from three-point land. This is a really ugly start for the Cavs, and LeBron James is averaging 10 minutes per game more than any other player on that roster, and he's trying to do it by himself. It's still October. I don't know if he can do this for all 82 games and still be ready to go against the Washington Wizards or whoever it is in the Eastern Conference playoffs, because he's not going to get much help anytime soon.
Well, how important will it be when Isaiah Thomas comes back, or what can we even expect?
Look, I wrote a big feature over the offseason about Isaiah Thomas, and right now he's still not doing basketball-related activity in terms of, like, movement out there. He's shooting stationary, but in terms of getting up and down, not playing one-on-one, not playing 3-on-3, not playing 5-on-5. So it's going to be a while, at least a month or two, before we can see him back on the basketball court. And it's going to take a while to get integrated. Look, you're looking around the league, even Paul George in OKC, it's taking time for him to get integrated with a guy like Russell Westbrook. Now, LeBron James is a lot easier to play with than Russell Westbrook, but still, Isaiah Thomas, with the hip injuries that he has and the hip issues, he has to be at 100% to be effective going forward, because if he has to go under the knife in surgery, he's not going to play a single game for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And that's a real option at this point. Is we don't know when Isaiah Thomas is going to be back, whether it's going to be January, whether it's going to be All-Star break, or even in April, or at all. So that's a huge question mark. And if you're LeBron James, you trade Kyrie Irving for Jay Crowder, Isaiah Thomas, and you don't really know what you can have going forward. So it's a big question mark for the Cavs still going forward.
All right, we're talking to Tom Haberstroh, Bleacher Report, and Leverage the Chat here on The Right Time. How excited are you for the Freaky Greeky show in Milwaukee?
Man, I'm Greek myself, so he's my Greek brother. He and I look alike. I don't know if you noticed that.
Really?
So I'm a big fan of my Greek brother there, Giannis Antetokounmpo. The dude is averaging 37 points a game, Bomani. He's had 53 shots inside the paint, 53 buckets, 58 overall. So 5 buckets outside the paint. He's averaging 37 points per game. 53 of his 58 buckets have been in the paint. It's insane what he's doing. He's like Shaq. He's prime Shaq. He gets to the rim at will, and it's not a matter of overpowering. It's just that he has those go-go gadget arms, and he just slithers around defenders. You can't stop him because he's so long. And he knows it now. You know, maybe a couple years ago he didn't really have the confidence to do this every time and get to the rim, but he is so freaking long, and he's just so motivated now. He's got the confidence, and he's able to score at will. And look, I mean, people say he's Lamar Odom. People say he's Jason Kidd. Like, no. This is Giannis Antetokounmpo. There is no one like this guy in NBA history. I think he's the MVP favorite right now, considering all the guys who are injured around the league. And if the Milwaukee Bucks win 50 games, it's going to be very hard for voters, I think, to look at what he's doing right now in the NBA and not say he's the MVP.
Now, does he have enough around him? Like, where do you think the Bucks need to pick it up?
You know, they're going to need another – I think they're going to need another point guard on the roster. Jabari Parker's coming back from another ACL injury. I don't know if you can rely on him. But I think he's actually that Milwaukee Bucks team is a possible destination for Eric Bledsoe, who's a disgruntled. He obviously sent home by Ryan McDonough there in Phoenix, and I think that's a potential landing spot. Also, Denver. I got a chance to look at Denver last night. This was the best offensive team since December last year, better than the Golden State Warriors, the Denver Nuggets around Nikola Jokic, and they look terrible offensively. They got rid of Jameer Nelson for no good reason, and I think they really need a point guard. So Eric Bledsoe, if you're looking for destinations for that dude, expect Milwaukee to be in the mix as well as Denver Nuggets.
Now, if you were if you were Phoenix and you were thinking about Eric Bledsoe trade, would you consider taking Parker off the ACL tear?
I would. Absolutely. The trade value for Eric Bledsoe, it couldn't be lower right now because of the fact that they basically put him on the trading block. They sent him home, and they lost a lot of leverage in there. So I think at this point, Jabari Parker is a young player that you got to take a chance on. I know he's had 2 ACL injuries, but if they can match, John Henson's contract and Jabari Parker and throw in an extra player in there, I think that's a deal that if you're Phoenix, you're looking at. This team isn't going to go anywhere anytime soon, so taking a flyer on Jabari Parker is exactly the type of move that they need to be making. I mean, it's been a dumpster fire the last few years there in Phoenix, but Jabari Parker, if you're gonna move Eric Bledsoe for anybody, Jabari Parker is absolutely a name you should look at.
All right, talking to Tom Haberstroh of Leverage the Chat and Bleacher Report here on The Right Time. How is it that Minnesota still can't play defense?
It's amazing, man. Tom Thibodeau comes in there. Everyone expects them to play, average at least defense. In the last couple of years, the GM poll says, the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be the best, most improved team in the NBA. And right now, they have the worst defensive rating in the league. Tom Thibodeau, Jimmy Butler's only played a couple games, but still, Karl Anthony Towns, it's amazing to me that dude gets heralded as the next great player, potentially the next MVP of this next crop of young talent, and he hasn't played any defense in the NBA. Right now, when they have Karl Anthony Towns, who is a freakishly good talent in the league on one end of the floor, when he's on the floor, they give up 120 points every 100 possessions with Karl Anthony Towns on the floor. Look, it's not just him. They don't have another big man to put him next to. Gorgie Jang is not a great rim protector, but I need to see more out of Karl Anthony Towns. Like, a lot of people thought he was the next Tim Duncan, and I think at this point he might be the next Amari Stoudemire. From what he's done in the league, he has shown nothing defensively. So if Tom Thibodeau can't get you to play defense, and same goes for Andrew Wiggins, I don't know who will. So this is an amazing, amazing character study with Tom Thibodeau in Minnesota, the worst defense in the NBA. And last year, they were bottom 5. At some point, we just can't call them kids anymore and just say it's youth, because they got Jimmy Butler, Taj Gibson, Jeff Teague on the team. They're a lot more grown up this year, but the defense has to be much better for them to make the playoffs.
Well, at what point do we look at Thibodeau? Because we looked at Wiggins and Towns as both guys who would be great NBA defenders, and Wiggins has been a bad one, which is just a shock.
Yeah. If you believe in the defensive metrics, defensive RPM on ESPN, they have Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins as 2 of the worst positional players in the NBA. So it is amazing how bad they rate defensively. And it's just a lot about effort. It's a lot about just going out there and playing and having your head on a swivel and knowing what the rotations are. Tom Thibodeau was a master at defense in 2011. The question is, the league has gotten much faster. Right now, the slowest team in the NBA, the Memphis Grizzlies, would be the 8th fastest team 5 years ago. That's how fast the NBA is now, where Tom Thibodeau, the slow it down, defensive, stalwart defense that he has loaded up on the ball. When you have 3-point shooting and the pace and space of the NBA right now is at pretty much an all-time high. It's a different league, so I got to see a lot more from that defense. And certainly, the blood is on both sides here. It's not just Karl Towns. It's not just Andrew Wiggins. I think Tom Thibodeau has to get them better motivated.
All right, that is Tom Haberstroh. Check him out at Leverage the Chat, also at Bleacher Report. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
Good to be back, Bo. Thanks.
All right, man. Good to have you. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Progressive is celebrating 5 years and more than 500 cars donated to vets. To learn more, visit keystoprogress.com.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guys join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Tom Haberstroh of Leverage the Chat and Bleacher Report for joining us last segment. Darren Woodson will join us in the 6 o'clock Eastern hour. Darren Woodson will join us at 6:30. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Football season is heating up. Tune in Sunday as Tom Brady and the Patriots host Phillip Rivers and the Chargers. Pregame begins at noon Eastern on most ESPN radio stations. So it was World Series game last night. The Astros won. I thought the Dodgers had the lead late, and from what I've been reading about this baseball, they lights out when it comes to the end. I saw the homie Jansen was in the game. I thought it was a wrap. Then they said the homie Jansen gave up a home run, and what they say, Shannon, looked like it was going to be a 2.5 hour game. That thing went into the foes.
And you know what that means, right? The Dodgers are playing great. You get to the World Series, they win Game 1, then they blow a lead in Game 2. You know what that means? As we're headed to Houston, you know what that means, right?
It's a pivotal Game 3.
No.
Whoa.
The Astros have captured
the
momentum heading into Game 3 of the World Series.
There you go.
It's a wrap. I don't know how or what the Dodgers have to do to get this back, but right now the momentum is firmly planted with the Houston Astros.
It sounds more like a pivotal Game 3 to me. I mean, Shannon, you know, plus, man, you know this. You know that if there were such thing as momentum, you know that momentum dies when teams go to Houston. Like, you remember that time this one team had the so-called momentum on their way into Houston? You remember that? 1994?
Oh, I thought you were going to say 2017, American League Championship, when the New York Yankees were up 3-2.
Oh,
heading to
that time, I forgot about that one.
That was the Houston-New York matchup you were talking about,
yeah,
right?
No, I was talking about 1994 when the Knicks went to play the Rockets and John Starks decided to make himself a legend in the city he didn't even play in. You remember that? Brick.
Why you got to be bringing up old stuff, though?
Brick. Fine, we'll bring up new stuff. So Adrian Gonzalez, who plays for the Dodgers, but he's been hurt, so he's been away from the team. Apparently he went to Italy. And then he came back a couple days ago. And Shannon, is he hanging out with the Dodgers now? Is he around the team?
So apparently, if you're unfamiliar with this story, Adrian Gonzalez got hurt and was out for the rest of the year. And so he's been out throughout the entire playoffs, and he got permission from the Dodgers organization and Dave Roberts, his manager, to go on a family vacation to Italy during the postseason. And apparently, word got out that he was on vacation, and some people out there felt that Gonzalez wasn't being the best teammate because he wasn't there in the clubhouse, in the dugout with his guys during the playoffs, and now here we are in the World Series.
Doing what? Like, if you're not going to play in a baseball game, doing what? Starting pitchers when they don't pitch, don't be showing up. Wasn't Roger Clemens just like parachuting in just basically on the days that he pitched when he played for the Astros? He ain't even riding on a plane with them necessarily. What in the world do they need Adrian Gonzalez to do?
See, that goes along to what we've been sold as kids, where you got to be a great teammate, and you have to be there, and you have to pick them. You have to pick your teammate up, and it shows camaraderie, and we're in this together.
Yeah, whatever. You just be over there being miserable. All right, 888-729-3776. DJ Mike Hitman, what's going on?
Hey, Paul, I listened to Stephen A. Listen, he must have known Good Game, Donnell, Spanish Flash, Lucky Strike, and Roscoe Bosco Pico Train. Let me tell you something, Paul. Good Game. Every time he get into a fight, he tell the guy, wait 1 minute. He light his weed, he's smoking, and then he said, ready. And the guy said, that's okay, man. I don't want to fight.
That's how it goes in Good Game.
That's how it goes in Good Game. So we got some kind of advantage for some people. Because I never saw this man fight while smoking his weed. And when he fight, folks, he wins. But forget about that, folks. LeBron James needs a lot of help. Boston Celtics still coming for him. Even though we lost Gordon Hayward, we got some studs over there. We got Doodoo Brown out the tissue playing ball. That's right. I call him Doodoo Brown because he's nasty.
Jaylen Brown is Doodoo Brown now.
Y'all don't know who Doodoo Brown is? Jaylen Brown. He's the Doodoo Brown with the kid in the play haircut. Do the Brown Bowl.
Mike, you still optimistic,
And another
man.
thing. One more thing, Bo. We coming. Shannon, the Dallas Cowboys is back. The running game looking good. Everybody looking and par. Colin looking like he could block again. Now we ready to run. We finna go over to beat Washington. Then we coming for you, Kansas City.
Oh, man. That was fun, Mike. Hard Network out. Marshawn Lynch next. ESPN Radio.
Thanks for listening to the Right Time Podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Welcome to The Right Time Podcast. The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. You can send us a tweet at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed that is at Bomani_Jones. So, as many of you know, Marshawn Lynch is under suspension from the NFL. Ran out there, got in a little bit of a tussle, had involved an official. He grabbed him by the shirt. They suspended him for a game. He went and gave his town business appeal to the NFL. The NFL apparently doesn't respect town business. They don't realize the town business is bigger than the league, bigger than the team, any of that stuff. So he is suspended. And so apparently Marshawn's like, all right, if I'm suspended, I got some time to kill. I'm going to give a little something back to the youth, if you want to call it that. And so what Marshawn Lynch wound up doing Wednesday night was he went over to his alma mater, and he practiced with them. Now, we're not talking about Cal. He went over to Australia to practice. Was that last year he went to Australia to practice with them? No, we're not talking about that. We're talking about his high school alma mater, Oakland Tech High School, and he was out there running against those boys, and he put video of it on his Instagram account. Like, no. He was out there, like, being Marshawn Lynch running with a bunch of kids.
Wait, so he was just doing drills and stuff, right? Up, downs? And
No. It was practice. They were giving him the ball. There's this one kid, he got up, like, it seemed like it was the goal line or something, and somehow he decided he was going to tackle Marshawn Lynch, and Marshawn hit him with that L1. It was the L1 or L2 that put him on the ground. It's L2. Either way it goes, he was on the ground. He hit him with that Heisman and just mushed him and just dropped him straight to the ground. There's another play. It took like 6 of them dudes to tackle him. And I admit, I gave credit to the fattest one out of all of them, because they all took him to the ground. And that one dude, when he was getting up, he put both his hands on Marshawn Lynch's helmet to push himself up. He had to establish some level of dominion over Marshawn Lynch, I suppose. But nah, he was just out there running with the high school kids.
Wait. So they had they gave him one of his high school helmets in the uniform and all?
No, he came with his own gear. He was wearing a black jersey that appeared to have been issued to him by the Raiders and a silver helmet with a shield on the side with a pirate in it that said Raiders.
Wait a minute. Am I wrong to assume that I thought the equipment just stayed with the team, stayed at the facility? So you're telling me that Marshawn showed up to practice with high school kids with an Oakland Raiders helmet on?
I guess he decided once he figured out he was going to be suspended, well, hey, homie, if I'm going to go out here and work out with the kids, I'm going to need some headgear. Like, honestly, if you have been used to a professional quality helmet, do you want to trust the helmets that a public high school is giving the kids? No. You bring your own stuff. So, no, he was out there in the Raiders helmet, mashing those kids out. And I was thinking about what it would be like to be one of those kids playing with Marshawn Lynch. And I have to say, I am myself a little bit surprised that we don't have a clearer understanding of what it was like for one of those high school kids to play against Marshawn Lynch in practice, because I figured at least one of those high school kids would call us up here on the Right Time and talk about the day they decided to quit playing football was the day they got mashed out by Marshawn Lynch at the practice. Like that kid that he stiff-armed, no mas, baby. No mas. Like, if this is what the NFL is, I'm not there. And I give it this too, man. Some of them kids have some courage. Like, those kids are really out there trying to show Marshawn Lynch what they could do. I wouldn't. What I got to prove to Marshawn Lynch? You know what I'll be showing Marshawn Lynch? My transcript, seeing if he might pay my college tuition, because I'm out here by these books.
It's so amazing to think about the contrast between high school and pros. Like, think about it. When you have a pro-am in basketball, like, you'll have high schoolers go up against NBA players.
Yes.
You can't have that in the NFL. You can't have that with tackle football.
Well, that's in part because no one plays football on a purely recreational basis. Like, tackle football for the hell of it? No. Everybody playing tackle football got a dream after like the age of 17. Everybody playing tackle football got a dream.
Like, I was going to ask you, when's the last time an NFL player played tackle football?
Off time. Just, you must be crazy. Ain't nobody doing that. Let me tell you this right now, man. If I'm playing high school football and Marshawn Lynch all of a sudden shows up and I'm like, my job is to tackle him, I don't know how that practice is going to go, but I know what's going to happen before tomorrow's practice. You know what that is? Somebody going to hear from my mama. Like, I feel like, it would have to go down as being irresponsible parenting, right? Right? Like, there's a scourge out here that's been surrounding this world, and that scourge is a little something I like to call insufficient daddying, right? Just some levels of daddying that ain't getting taken all the way to completion these days. So in this era, in this world of insufficient daddying, I feel like there's a lot of daddies out there that we hear that Marshawn Lynch showed up to play against their kids, and they would be like, yeah, that's how we going to get this boy tough. Nah. You need to be out there talking to the coach, asking him what the hell he doing. Like, what is it? Because I see Marshawn Lynch come out there, and I'm like, whoa, is he going to be like, why is he wearing pads? Like, if Marshawn Lynch come out there in a polo shirt with a whistle around his neck, then all of a sudden this becomes a learning experience, something I would cherish for the rest of my life. I don't think there's anything to be cherishing about getting mashed out by Marshawn Lynch at the high school. I just don't think that's what it is. Like, that kid, he's stiff arm. What Marshawn going to do now? Show up in the cafeteria the next day and sit with my girl? Since you're just trying to get back into spirit? Like, what are you doing? No, you are definitely going to have to talk to my parents about this. There's no way this is safe for the kids. We got enough kids that's actually in high school that we don't necessarily believe it's safe. Like, Shannon, can you imagine if Clowney decided he wanted to come back to high school to practice?
We can't have that. You can lift weights. The weight room open.
How about Adrian Peterson?
Both of those guys, Clowney and Peterson, those were grown men in high school. So imagine if they're grown men now.
But see, here's the thing with Clowney. At least I could see Clowney taking it easy on them, right? Like, I feel like Clowney is aware of his own strength in that sort of way and kind of wants everybody to get along. I don't think Adrian Peterson has any way to do this other than that one. He's been this size since he was 11 years old, right? He's only got one way to go about this. We had the guy call in, talk about trying to tackle Adrian Peterson in a high school game, but Adrian Peterson was in high school back when all he had to work with was the weight room at Palestine High School. You imagine what he's coming back doing now off that NFL stuff? Nah, I don't. I'm calling my mama if Adrian Peterson shows up to the practice and is talking about playing. I'm trying to think, like, who else I'd just be like, oh, no, we're not playing today. We're not. Can you imagine what would happen if they let Randy Moss come to his high school? Yeah, now, then, whenever. Whenever. You think there's a high school kid in America that can check Randy Moss today?
You go ask Randy Moss that same question. What do you think his answer going to be?
Why don't you try to cover me right now? Yeah, no, man. I just don't think, like, if Kobe want to go back to the old high school and play, oh, cool, let's all go play against Kobe. Let's do that.
I get the feeling Kobe's not the type that plays.
Well, he will engage in competition.
Exactly.
But he don't play.
He doesn't play.
He don't play. 888-729-3776. Then talk to Dave in Pennsylvania. Dave, thanks for calling the right time.
What's going on, Bomani?
Doing all right, man. How are you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
All right. I just wanted to say, man, you're talking about how Marshawn came to practice and was mashing out kids and whatnot. I don't know, man. I think that would be something special. You know what I mean? Like, not the fact that you got mashed out, but the fact that you got a chance to play with one of the greats. You know what I mean?
Hold up. Shannon, you remember that time you played pickup ball against Allen Iverson?
All I'm saying is he didn't have to call isolation on the first play of the game. That's all I'm saying. Just because I was the one guarding him, he didn't have to say ISO and clear out.
Did it feel special? Does it feel special to you that Allen Iverson put you in isolation?
No. It's like 20 years later, and I'm still, nah.
You see what I'm saying, Dave?
The fact that, when I was in high school, I played ball. And, some of the kids who went to college, they would come back and they would play with us. And, that was something special because they were on that higher level. You know what I mean? They had something to teach us.
Yeah, I feel you. I feel like our concussion education hasn't gone nearly far enough, Dave. I appreciate the call. But I personally don't want the privilege of being concussed by Marshawn Lynch.
It is funny, though. 20 years from now, you think these kids are going to tell stories about how they went up against Marshawn in practice?
Oh, they are going to tell stories about how they went up against Marshawn in practice, and the stories are going to go like this. Man, they gave Marshawn the ball. He jumped into the hole. I don't know what got into me, man, but I put my helmet right under his chin. I brought him down and stood over him and said, beast mode right here, fool. That's how those stories. That dude that got stiff armed, that's going to be his story until he gets to high school reunion. They're going to be like, y'all remember that time Peanut got mashed out by Marshawn Lynch? All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Coming next, we got your phone calls on that. We got your phone calls on the day you quit playing football. We got your phone calls on the day you broke something playing the video game. Basically, what I'm saying is call. You're listening to ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. Darren Woodson will join us next segment. Darren Woodson will join us at 6:30 Eastern. That's the old soul song of the day, Bootzilla. My Bootsy's rubber band. Happy birthday to Bootsy Collins. Bootsy Collins, 65 years old. Perhaps my favorite Bootsy Collins memory of all time is back in the cold pizza days. Bootsy from Cincinnati, so Bootsy had done a Bengals fight song, a Who Dey song, and they brought him on to Cold Pizza on ESPN to do the song. And apparently they got nobody to check your wardrobe before you come on. So Bootsy was there with two women, and one of them was wearing a undershirt out the pack, a tank top that was white and had written on it in Sharpie, Mary Jane 420. And she was on roller skates. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. We were just talking about Marshawn Lynch showing up to practice with the kids at his old high school, and somebody just made a very, 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 very interesting point here about this. They talk about, can you imagine? First he said, what if Mike Allstott showed up at a high school practice? But he had a different one. He's like, what if Steve Atwater showed up at a high school practice? And that's the part we're not thinking enough about. You can't allow no professional caliber safety or linebacker to be out here with the kids. You just got to give the dude the ball. But, can you imagine Steve Atwater with any professional level safety with his knowledge of schemes and everything else, just laying back for some kid to catch it over the middle? That's when you quit.
But what about, 1984 Lawrence Taylor?
Oh, no. I also get the feeling the last place Lawrence Taylor would ever want to be is back at high school in 19. At least I'd hope. 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. Let us hit the phones, and we will talk to Zach in Oklahoma. Zach, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Bomani, appreciate you taking my call, sir. I like listening to the show. It's good stuff.
Thank you, man.
Let me tell you this. I'm a father of 3 kids, and I don't understand what a grown man thinks he's proven running over children.
Yeah,
you want to educate these – go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
You got it. You got it. My fault.
If you want to educate these kids, why not show up to practice and explain to them how fortunate you are to be in the situation that you're in, and explain to them that might not be the situation that they end up in, and they should put full force effort into the things that they can control, because ending up in the NFL might not be the outcome, not running them over.
Well, to be fair, he didn't try to run anybody over, and Zach, I appreciate the call. That one boy just got ambitious about it. I guess he learned that day what a business decision was.
Right, not to mention, if you're one of these kids and Marshawn's on the field, you're going to try to tackle him. If you're a defensive player, you want to say, I was the guy that tackled Marshawn Lynch. Absolutely. And also, Marshawn is not the type that you're going to say needs to come out and tell these kids. Marshawn has camps all over Oakland throughout the entire year. He's not the one.
He the king of Oakland.
Right, he's not the one. He's not the guy that you're using as an example.
They know that. All right, 888-729-3776. Nick in Pennsylvania, thanks for calling The Right Time.
Oh, man, thanks for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Going off that, NFL players coming back to practice, man. Could you imagine Derrick Henry going back, man? Do you remember that picture of him in the national championship game next to Mark Ingram? Ingram's a big dude, and he made him look like a child. Remember that?
Yeah, no, you're right. That is a large man.
If he came to my high school, man, I'm sorry, hard pass, I'm out. I'm not getting run over. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, I'd have done the hard pass. I appreciate the call. If he attended my high school, I'd be like, I don't understand why we got to practice against each other. Can't we scrimmage at a different school every week? Right? Like why I got to tackle our guy? I don't feel like we build a camaraderie, coach, by having me out here trying to tackle Derrick Henry. I just don't. We all on the same team. 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. You boys been talking about losing y'all's minds playing video games. Let's hit the phone, talk to Ryan in D.C. Ryan, thanks for calling the right time.
Oh, man. Crazy to be talking to you, man. Listened to you for the past 4 years. So I appreciate you taking the call. Yeah, actually kind of flipping it. We have a ping pong table in my office, right? And we get pretty competitive every now and then. And my boy actually lost to me for like the third time in a row. And the setup is the ping pong table is right next to about 4 or 5 windows, big office windows. And he takes the ping pong paddle and slams it, hits the table, breaks the whole window. And not to mention we had a customer party coming on in about an hour. So not to mention it's also the day they kind of somewhat put me in charge. So I had to explain to everybody when they came in that, yeah, well, we take ping pong a little more serious than we do work. And a little accident happened. The entire window was broken. So
did you fire him?
He was no longer with the company about a month later. So
he couldn't stand to work for you. You beat him so bad at ping pong, you could not stand to work under your employ. Ryan, I appreciate the call. Yo, man, I can't imagine the fear that would be in my stomach if I broke that. I mean, they got to take that out of your check, right?
Everything would happen in slow motion, and your eyes would get so big.
that has to come straight out of your check. When's the next time you'll be able to buy groceries? All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Hey, we got a Thursday night football game tonight after 2 weeks of pretty good Thursday night football games. We now get the Ravens and the Dolphins. That would be the Matt Moore-led Miami Dolphins. And so which team has the better quarterback? Because I don't feel like we could definitively say that Joe Flacco is better than anybody. Is Joe Flacco better than Matt Moore? Now, if Joe Flacco was out there with Jay Cutler, this could be one of the worst quarterback matchups we see all year, and it's so crazy to say that because none of us, even those of us who didn't think Joe Flacco was great, I don't think any of us thought that Joe Flacco was bad. Joe Flacco is now bad, right? Like, that's just the place that he's in now. Joe Flacco is now officially bad, and the NFL is like, we're going to put this out here for America to see. Damn it, Shannon, I'm doing PTI tomorrow, which means I probably got to watch this guy.
And you can pose the same question we had after last week. When did Joe Flacco get awful?
I need you to call the producers over there in D.C. and let them know. That's what we need to start with because I feel like that way, if they know the question already, I ain't got to watch the game.
That's in the A block right there.
Yeah,
when
right
did
there.
Joe Flacco get so awful?
Right. And question 2, but for real, is he really this sorry? And question number 3, so he is this sorry. Huh. All right, 888-729-3776. That's our telephone number. Let's talk to Kevin in Chicago. Kevin, thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bomani, man, I've been laughing all at your last segment. I ain't laughed this hard since you talked about when you paid the guy, when you owed him some money, you paid him back either nickels or pennies.
It was pennies.
But listen, 30 years ago, I ran track for the Army, and I used to be pretty good. I wasn't a world-class sprinter, but I was pretty good. 25 years, I decided to try to make a comeback, and I was at an invitational meet in Virginia, and Ronaldo Skeets Nehemiah shows up. So he was in his 30s. I'm in my 20s. And, you know, he had bad knees from the 49ers, and he was doing hurdles, but this was a 100-meter sprint, so I'm like, I got him. Dude smoked me so bad. After I finished the race, my girlfriend looked at me and said, "You still trying to make a comeback?" I was like, "No, I'm done." I quit right after that.
Dang, you got humbled in track. Like, I appreciate the call, but it was Ronaldo Nehemiah. Like, ain't but so many Ronaldo Nehemiahs out there, right? 888-729-3776. G for Little Rock. Thanks for calling the right time.
Hey, Bo. Hey, Shannon. So I'm 14 years old. I'm a freshman, and I get to dress out on the varsity team. And I think the reason is my brother was the dog. He was a junior. You know, he's the middle linebacker. He's the quarterback. So I think they thought I was going to grow or something because I was a small kid. You know, I got good hands, and I'm scrappy. And so I'm sitting out there in my uniform's all cool. Everything's great. We're losing, 33-10. There's about 4 minutes left in the game. And we hold them, and so now they're going to punt the ball to us. And the coach calls my number. I'm like, all right, hey, I haven't played all year, but, I'm going to be on the varsity. I'm going to get a letter. So I run out there. The punter kicks the ball. I catch it. I field it. Make a move. Make a second move. Lose it. Get a good block. All of a sudden, I'm at the midline, and I look up, and I only got 2 players between me in the end zone. And, one's the punter, and one's a linebacker type guy coming at me. But I got a blocker, so my blocker takes him out. and the only thing between me and the promised land is the punter. And so I'm starting to do like the train, you know, I'm starting to pump the arm, you know, and I'm looking up to the cloud going, yeah, yeah, yeah. And all of a sudden I look up and that punter is doing like a hidden dragon Chinese, like ninja, maybe a little Matrix. And that punter is in the air for like 22 feet. I mean, they are just parallel to the ground. The helmet hits my chin, and the shoulder pad just hits my chest, and I kind of go black. I don't know where the ball's at, and I'm sitting there on the ground, and you know, I got the whistles, you know, because I can't. I'm just sitting there going, and the punter's standing over me and asking me if I'm okay, and I can't do anything. I just got the whistles, and then all of a sudden, the punter takes off her helmet. You heard me. Her helmet. Next morning, I pick up the 7-iron. I haven't left the golf course since. Bam. I'm out.
G, I think you might have won the contest, and it was totally not what I expected G for Little Rock to sound like. Darren Woodson next. Woo! Buying your business trip at Upside.com is a triple win. You get great prices, gift card rewards, and 6-star treatment. A recent Upside customer had a flight canceled, and while rebooking, a navigator contacted the hotel and had them change his check-in day without charging any fees. That's just one example of how Upside's navigators go above and beyond. Go to Upside.com and use code Bomani. You'll get a minimum $100 gift card to Amazon.com. That's code Bomani for a minimum $100 gift card when you buy your next business trip. Upside.com. You deserve a better business trip. Minimum purchase required. See site for complete details.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. All guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Just like our next guest covers the NFL for us here at ESPN, Super Bowl champion Darren Woodson. Darren, we got Dolphins-Ravens tonight. What in the world is wrong with Joe Flacco?
Man, I guess that's everybody's question right now. Look, I think there's a lot going on with this group right now. First of all, the injuries that he's had at the wide receiver position have been paramount this year. He's not getting any separation with the guys he has out there. He lost Marshall Younger, who was early on in the season that ended up getting hurt, which was his safety blanket at the tight end position. But when you look at this group right now, you may get Macklin back, may not today. I'm not sure if that came down the wire just yet. But Macklin's been banged up, who was a guy who creates a lot of separation. Mike Wallace just got banged up last week with the hit against Minnesota. They just don't have a lot of things on the outside that can create, a lot of receivers that can create that separation, nor do they have the running game. This team used to be a run first, set up the play action pass, get the ball deep down the field with Joe Flacco's big arm. They don't have that play action because teams don't respect their running game, and they're playing pass coverage. So it's a little bit of everything. I think Flacco right now, hey, listen, you're paying him a lot of money. You're paying him, top 10 quarterback money around the league, and at some point they're going to have to look at the quarterback position to figure out, hey, are they getting their value at the position?
Now, on the other side, we've got the Dolphins. Is it possible the Dolphins may be in better shape with Matt Moore than they were with Jay Cutler?
Yeah, I think so. I think Matt Moore is familiar with the system. He's been around the guys, of late. When you talk about guys that he's very comfortable with, Kenny Stills, this past week, Kenny Stills has been dormant. We hadn't heard anything about Kenny Stills, and Matt Moore comes to the game. Kenny still has a huge game. They light it up down the field. He's very comfortable in this offense and getting the ball to certain receivers. And I think the guys rally behind it because he has that attitude. He has that leadership quality that they've seen in the locker room the last couple of years. And they've seen him come in when Tannehill was out and be impressive and lead this group. So I think they're comfortable with him. I think Adam Gase is comfortable with him. I mean, we're talking about one of the grittiest teams in the league. I mean, their turnover ratio, they're minus 20 in a turnover ratio, and they're still finding ways to win football games. And you got to give that a lot of credit to that defense as well, in the secondary in particular.
All right, we're talking to Darren Woodson of ESPN here on The Right Time. Switching gears, we talked a lot on this show about Martavis Bryant and what's going on with him and the Steelers. How do you think that would go with your Cowboys teams?
Man, both teams are dysfunctional. I mean, I think it's, I think there's dysfunction all the way across the board. When I look at the Steelers team, Bomani, I thought last year, listen, if they had Martavis Bryant last year, they would be in the running for a Super Bowl championship. I felt like when he came back this year, they would be fully loaded. You got Antonio Brown on one side, Le'Veon Bell, who I feel is the best running back in football, Martavis Bryant, Ben Roethlisberger, a ton. Now they got Juju Schuster, got a ton of weapons. I feel like they're going to make that jump this year and make a leap. Martavis not being happy, I can understand. Listen, it's going to be a contract season for him. He's not getting the ball the way he likes that he wants. He feels like he needs more shots. I think he needs to get more shots, but at the same time, he needs to grow up and mature and not take shots. And make sure that if he has a problem, keep it in-house. That's my biggest issue with this team right now is that it started with Ben early on, complaining about maybe he's going to retire, maybe he's not. And, maybe I've lost it, and he's speaking outside of himself. Le'Veon Bell's asking for more footballs a couple of weeks ago, and AB, you know what he did last year. Mike Tomlin after a game. It's just there's a lot of dysfunction in that locker room. I think it's still the most talented personnel as far as offenses are concerned in the NFL, and I still give them a shot. If they can get all hands on deck and make that run when they have to play the Patriots later on down the line, they're going to have to see the Pats at some point. They better have all hands on deck to win that football game.
Yeah, Martavis just can't chill out the way he wants to. He's trying to figure it out. Just can't do it. We were talking to Darren Woodson of ESPN.
You can't do it, man.
Yeah, man. We're talking to Darren Woodson of ESPN here on the right time. How big a loss do you think it is for the Patriots to be without Dante Hightower for the rest of the year?
I think it's a huge loss. You're talking about a guy who's what we call the facilitator. He's a guy that bridged that gap between the front seven and the secondary. He communicated everything. And just we saw this past offseason, the Patriots rewarded him handsomely in the offseason, paid him a big contract because they knew this kid is a leader off the field. He's a communicator on the field, and he's probably the most versatile football player on that football field. On the defensive side of the ball, he can play. He can rush the end from the outside, and we saw the shot that he had the Super Bowl last year. He can play in coverage. He can play in the inside linebacker position. He's a guy right now they're definitely going to miss. But we are talking about the Patriots, and they find ways to cover up every wart that they have. But I think it's going to be a huge loss, especially as far as communication in that secondary.
All right, last question for Darren Woodson of ESPN here on the right time. Do you think Ezekiel Elliott turned a corner last week, or were they just playing against the 49ers?
They're playing against the 49ers. I mean, listen, I expected Zeke to have a big day. I think Zeke's going to have I think the pressure is on him now and has been this entire season of not knowing when he's going to lose his battle. He's going to lose his battle, and I think the Cowboys understand at some point he's going to lose. I think it's weighed on him for a long time. Last week, they played the 49ers. Everyone usually has a pretty good day against the 49ers, and the Cowboys dominated on both sides of the ball. So I wasn't surprised by his efforts and what he was able to do. But next week's a different week, man. They got to get him heavily involved early on that offense because he's the identity of the offense.
All right, that is Darren Woodson, covers the NFL for us here at ESPN. Thanks so much, my man. I appreciate it.
No problem. Take care.
All right, now, the right time is brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics. Take synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. Make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Also, Darren didn't know what I meant by Martavis Bryant not being able to chill out the way he wants to. See, he was suspended. Let's just go to commercial.
The Right Time with Bomani Jones.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Right Time. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. Our guest joined us on the show, Pennzoil Performance Line. Thanks to Darren Woodson of ESPN for joining us the last segment. Thanks to Tom Haberstroh of Bleacher Report for joining us in the 5 o'clock Eastern Hour. Thanks to Kean Fahey of ESPN for joining us in the 4 o'clock Eastern Hour. Remember, if you miss anything live, check out the Right Time podcast available on the ESPN app. All right, 888-729-3776. That is our telephone number. All right, Shannon, what we miss out on today?
All right, we've been doing these Why Quit Football stories for a while now, but we got a call, and it was a couple segments ago from G in Little Rock. And this story, man, it might take the cake. If you haven't heard, here's G in Little Rock explaining why he quit football.
So I'm 14 years old. I'm a freshman, and I get to dress out on the varsity team. And I think the reason is my brother was the dog. He was a junior. He's the middle linebacker. He's the quarterback. So I think they thought I was going to grow or something because I was a small kid. I got good hands, and I'm scrappy. And so I'm sitting out there. My uniform's all cool. Everything's great. We're losing, 33-10. There's about 4 minutes left in the game. And we hold them. And so now they're going to punt the ball to us. And the coach calls my number. I'm like, all right, hey, I haven't played all year, but, I'm going to be on the varsity. I'm going to get a letter. So I run out there. The punter kicks the ball. I catch it. I field it. Make a move. Make a second move. get a good block. All of a sudden, I'm at the midline, and I look up, and I only got 2 players between me and the end zone. And, one's the punter, and one's a linebacker type guy coming at me. But I got a blocker, so my blocker takes him out. And the only thing between me and the promised land is the punter. And so I'm starting to do like the train, I'm starting to pump the arm, and I'm looking up to the crowd going, yeah. And all of a sudden I look up, and that punter is doing like a hidden dragon Chinese, like ninja, maybe a little Matrix. And that punter is in the air for like 22 feet. I mean, they are just parallel to the ground. The helmet hits my chin, and the shoulder pad just hits my chest, and I kind of go black. I don't know where the ball's at, and I'm sitting there on the ground, and I got the whistles, because I can't understand. And the punter's standing over me and asking me if I'm okay, and I can't do anything. I just got the whistles, and then all of a sudden, the punter takes off her helmet. You heard me. Her helmet. Next morning, I pick up the 7-iron. I haven't left the golf course since. Bam, I'm out.
So how you explain that to your boys? The ones who weren't at the game, who didn't hear. How you explain that?
You just tell them the punter took you out. You explain it with no more information than that which is necessary. But, I mean, the thing about it is he's like, yo, man, she flying through the air like the Matrix. You know what you need to do is stop. What you need to do is become a forward-thinking man in the 21st century. Yeah, that's what you need to do. That ain't going to work.
No. All right, moving on to the hardwood. Tonight we got the Boston Celtics and the Milwaukee Bucks, and the Bucks are doing something special. They're doing their return to the Mecca tonight in honor of their old court and the old arena that they played in the 70s into the 80s, and they have a retro court tonight to look like the court that they played with, played in at that time.
Well, I think it's the actual court, right?
No. See, that's the thing. Kyrie Irving thinks it's the actual court.
Oh.
But it's not. Here's Kyrie on his concerns.
I'm all about safety, so see how it is on my knees, see how it is on everyone's bodies. I know this is a pretty older court. Looks like it's fresh painted as well. So I'm just going to do my assessment and go from there.
It's a new court.
Yeah. It took me 3 steps to realize that this is not the same NBA court that I'm used to playing on. So we'll see what's up.
I thought that it was the old court because I heard Kyrie say that it was the old court, which means I made the tragic mistake, apparently, of taking the word of someone who thinks the world is flat.
So you were right there with Kyrie. You actually thought it was the old court?
No, because when he said it, I thought that it must have been the old court, right? He said it was the old court. I figured that they must have told him it was the old court. I didn't realize it was a new court just made to look like the old court, but Kyrie has a hard time keeping these things straight.
All right, we alluded to it earlier, but we got an exciting quarterback matchup tonight. Matt Moore and Joe Flacco. I know we don't do predictions a lot here on the show, but of those 2 QBs, this time tomorrow, who are we saying had the better day? Matt Moore or the recently awful Joe Flacco?
I feel like if we're lucky, we're not talking about either one of them. So hopefully we won't have to talk about the game on any of the product. Is the game going to be in Miami? If the game is going to be in Miami, I am going to roll the dice here. I was in Baltimore. I think we're going to say that Joe Flacco had a better game.
It's just funny. I know we've harped on Joe Flacco earlier this week, but it's just funny to think that we're only a couple of years removed from not just the Super Bowl win, but the whole elite talk.
And the biggest contract in NFL history. A contract, by the way, that is actually right in line with him now. Like, it's gotten down to the point where he no longer feels overpaid. This is just what, like, the Joe Flaccos of the world managed to get paid, the $20-something million or whatever it is that he is getting.
All right, I know we didn't have much time earlier to talk about Joe Girardi being out as Yankees manager. Now we got a vacant Yankees job. Where do you think this job stands? Like, this seems weird that in the past, Yankee teams always have the highest level of pressure. But this year's team, they kind of played above the expectations. So going in now, your new manager, what are the expectations like now? Is it back to the traditional Yankee?
World Series. They weren't supposed to make the playoffs this year. Right? So what do you think? People ain't going to expect more?
So, like, right off the jump now. So we're right back, huh? We had kind of a grace period here these last 2 or 3 years.
Dude got the team to the playoffs a year ahead of schedule, and he don't work there no more. What you think they expected from you? All right, like I don't even know who it is that it's going to be. Like being the manager of the Yankees just seems like a job that's a lot more stress than it's worth.
It's the Yankees, though. Like, if you win there.
Yeah, if you win, like, one guy has really done that the last 30 years. Like, I'm an 80s kid. Like, I remember growing up not understanding what the big deal about the Yankees was. Is it possible y'all might go through one of them little runs? You've only won one World Series in the last 17 years.
And now they're not getting rid of, but they're parting with the manager who brought them that one World Series.
Shock 'em the Deuce. Thanks for the time. But, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this every weekday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Shannon, Nuno, Ryan, thanks so much. I'm out tomorrow, but Jalen Jacoby coming up next.
Thanks for listening to The Right Time podcast. Please come back tomorrow for more. And don't forget to listen to The Right Time with Bomani Jones from 4 p.m. to 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.